Welcome to Detailed Drummer. With us, we have Claus Hessler, and we're going to be talking with him. Klaus is an amazing drummer, is an amazing educator as well, and is the person to go to for Muller technique. I wanted to ask you, Klaus, first, if you're okay, if it's everything all right with you during this lockdowns and how you handling it.
Well, first of all, I think we all had different plans before the pandemic kicked in, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to say that me and my family we are doing okay, and we were not affected at all in terms of health problems,
Great.
which is good.
Yeah.
Um, there's nowhere. I mean, we are nowhere near of having like health-wise challenges with any of us in the family, my parents and my parents-in-law, and so none of us is affected with all that, which is good. I mean, it's of course a sad thing that you're not allowed to go out and for good reasons to perform and do master classes and workshops and play live and all of that. I think it's going to come back at some point sooner or later, maybe later than
Around this year, let's hope.
let's hope, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, before that, believe it or not, I'm just super busy teaching, writing, doing online classes. Uh, I
Yeah,
have.
it definitely closed some doors, but it opened some doors as well. So that's one of the questions that I wanted to go for. Uh, uh, the way that teachers now have to adapt to this kind of like lockdown streaming kind of lesson, it kind of loses that personal touch that you have in a personal lesson with your teacher. And do you think that, first of all, this is the future of teaching, and second of all, if you think it's more beneficial to students doing having like lessons online or personally in person?
First of all, I wouldn't say it's the future. I would say teaching online with a good concept and a good organizational framework is definitely a part of the future of where music education goes. And before COVID kicked in, I had quite a serious routine already going regarding online teaching. So I had all of this set up in terms of microphones, cameras, lighting, etc. It was already there. So all of my teaching just switched completely to online, but I didn't uh, I didn't have to like research, oh, how is this working?
Yeah.
How's everybody doing this? And so with regards to your question, I don't think it's the future. I think teaching online and having a good concept about that is definitely a part of the future. And and also I should say, I mean, of course, comparing it with a standard one-on-one lesson setting, of course, it is different as opposed to being in that same room with that other person. But but teaching online also comes with a couple of benefits that a lot of people don't realize before they actually find it. I mean, you can record things right as you go, and every lesson can be filmed, and then the footage be used as your personal study guide. You can share screens. You can direct the students' attention in a much better way as opposed to having that person with you in the same room. I mean, if I show you this is the grip, I mean you have no other ways than just looking at my hand and not looking at, oh, this guy, he has some huge snare drums over here. I mean, they are nice. Yeah, okay, he keeps telling me about stick grip and all of that, but
Yeah.
I just like that drum. It's so you have different ways of directing students' attention.
Yeah,
And
and I guess like because if you were a teacher in a college, let's say you're part of a college staff, and you have like some students that are not, as committed. In this case, you always have like a personal search for your job, so they are going for you for reason. You know what I mean? Like, even though they are in the other part of the world,
Mhm.
they want you for what you can give them. So I think for you, it's maybe can be easier to spread the message because they are really receptive. It's like personal guidance, I would say.
Absolutely, yes, and being able to make that personal connection, if you're good in communicating,
Mhm.
it will also come through in an online setting.
Yeah.
So uh, that is actually what things turned out to be like for me when I have a teaching day. I mean, uh, and and I'm not teaching every day privately here, um, but many times, like in the mornings, I may start out uh, with Australia or the Far East or China or something like that, and then it moves to India, and then it may continue to Russia, to Poland, to Europe, UK, and then jumping over. I have a map of the world behind me.
That's amazing. That's amazing how you travel the world during your lessons. It's like
Yeah,
you go all around it.
you go once around the world, which you could never do if it was in a person to person
True. Yeah.
setting.
I wanted to ask you how you started to play drums. Do you had like someone to lead you into it? Do you discover it and you like made your parents make you learn it, or how did it started?
Well, you must, or I must say, I come from a pretty musical family. So my father and my brother, they were playing both in a local brass band, and both of my grandfathers were playing music. So music was always a big thing in the family, and there actually was a set of drums at my parents' house, which my godfather owned, and he didn't play them actively at that time anymore, but the drums were still there, and to me it was some sort of say personal playground, if you will. I mean, other kids would play with their toys that they had, and for me it was a playground. It was really like something you would invent stories, and uh, and make your own soundtrack to the stories that you would that kids invent, right? You know what kids are like. they
Yeah.
they come up inventing stories, and I would make my soundtrack with the story right as I go. So
That's amazing. Did you had like anyone else in your family like same age as you at the time that was like growing as well, or you were
I
like
mean,
discovering it by yourself?
that discovery, for the most part, I did for myself. I have an older brother who's 6 years older, and he also was into music. But imagine when I started playing the drums, I was, when I started to be, uh, yeah, into drumming, and being attracted by the instrument. He was already somewhere between 10 and 11. So I mean, that's some sort of age
Yeah, gap.
combination,
Yeah.
which usually doesn't work that well.
True. Yeah, he doesn't want to play anymore.
No, of course not. So he thinks he's much older, and what are you talking about? It's nah,
So
go away.
you started to play and to get better with it. Do you started to play with your family after that, or you started to do projects with people from your age? How did you just started to go live?
I played. I actually did play then slight tiny bit later with my brother, who was playing horn and a little piano. So we would play together many times. I remember, and also the local brass band at certain times was also rehearsing at my parents' house.
Right.
So I was in the room next to them, and then just trying to join them, and also trying to be part of it,
To be part. Yeah.
which at times they did not like.
Like we're trying to work here.
Great, get the shit out of here. So it was not always fun for them. I would have to say, but that was more or less sort of the musical corporation that I would have back in the day. But it was not like I was having uh, um, other kids of my age that I would play together
Yeah,
with.
yeah. Wh- like when it started to be more like a thing that you thought like I want to do this as a job, I want to be a professional drummer, and and I want you to talk about when you discovered that, or when you understood that, or also to give me an insight like of what was your dream job at the time. So did you thought like you wanted to be this type of drummer, and you are, or during your career and your route, like you decided, no, I prefer to be more like an educator, I want to be a good educator, I want to focus on this, because there's those drummers that I want to be famous and I want to do tours and be on the big stages. And for example, for me, I had that idea, but it also kind of vanished in the first years. You know, you start to go more, no, I want to be more specific.
Well, I should say a lot of what I do today, I did not map out before, or I did not plan before. Um, um, and I mean, I played quite actively in my teenage years with a lot of semi-professional dance bands for the most part, but also to a certain degree playing a little bit of original music also, that you play with like-minded uh, people in your say, or at about the same age, let's say.
Yeah.
um, that for sure was the case, but I mean, I figured that I was that I was playing the drums quite well, but back then, when I was like 14, 15, 16 years old, I wouldn't think I was good enough to make it for a living.
Right.
I mean, I always took lessons, and I was highly interested into that, and the drums, and playing the drums, that was really a super important part of my life. But I always thought, well, I'd like to do it, but I'm afraid I'm not good enough for it. And it was only by accident when, after I had made an apprenticeship uh, at a company in a town nearby, and and back then, you were obliged to make some uh, to have some sort of service. Either you would go to the army, or you would go to the, I don't know, whatever uh, NGO organization, and make some kind of service,
Right.
which I did. And as I started that, I began teaching drums at a drum school of my former drum teacher. And I started out with 2 or 3 lessons Friday afternoon, and by the end of my service, um, I almost thought, boy, I could make a living out of that. So I quit my job, and that was it. And
So that service came to a well to be good for you, like in that sense, that made you like.
Kind of, because I mean, I still found the time to really study drums, and learn my instrument and practice a lot and all of that. So I didn't have to work really in the company, but I
Mhm.
did that service thing, which also absorbs you time wise to some degree. But still, there was there was a lot of time to take care for the instrument. So it allowed me to have that sort of soft, smooth switch
Yeah.
towards the music business. So it was not like you break up with that one thing and you jump into the other. It was not that. It kind of slided from here to
Yeah.
there in a step by step mode.
So after like you finished that service and you thought, I want to be a professional drummer and I can do it. How did you start to pursue it? Like how, where did you start to look for jobs or gigs, or when?
Oh, it was basically just. I mean, my goal was to make a living out of playing the drums.
Right.
Period. That was it. And I would do. anything, literally anything to do exactly that. Uh, I mean, with that only condition, it had to do with playing drums. So I played all kinds of music, dance bands at whatever level, whatever production it was, whatever kind of musical genre it was. At a certain point, I did it. So if you ask me anything, Klaus, have you played this and that? Most likely, my answer may be yes.
Like covers band and stuff.
Anything. I mean, really
Like go
anything.
for anything. I think that that's really important for, especially in the early stages of your career, to go for anything that you can find, because that makes you, first of all, study things or go for rhythms or music that you would never go intentionally or at the first stage. And second, because it gives you a network of people that are really like broad. You can, you know, because those musicians that you play that style can play other stuff, and that can open loads of doors for you. So I think, yeah, that's amazing. Like
Sure.
when when you started to do it professionally, when did you thought like, I don't want to say like I made it, but like I'm where I want to be as a professional, and I'm comfortable with my position now.
Not
It,
there, not there yet.
not there yet.
Not
That's
there yet.
all the same answer for all the musicians. All like stability. No,
Yeah.
we don't have that.
There's no such thing. No, really. It is so because if you really love music, you arrive at that point, or you are at that point where you consider yourself an eternal student of what you do,
Yeah,
because that is what keeps things fresh, and that is um, what allows you to look at music from a pretty much a kid-like perspective.
yeah,
It's not like, oh, I have to play the drums and I have to play that same old paradiddle that I already knew 40 years ago. No, that's not it. I'm still a student of it, and I'm still discovering things that I discover things today that I did not see yesterday. And this is why I possibly can never say I arrived at that spot where I would like to be. Of course, if you look back, there are certain uh, there are certain moments, and there are certain events um, and experiences that you've made uh, hmm, that you may consider being important as
or you feel proud of.
in your personal development
Yeah,
as a musician, educator, author, all around person, whatever it is.
yeah, but it's like you feel like you did something good, but you feel like you can do something better,
Well, I wouldn't always say better. I mean, I would
different.
say it's different,
Yeah,
and um, at times, of course, it may also be better.
yeah.
I mean, chances are, but for the most part, things are different, and you find you are more, uh, say, flexible with certain things. You have different ways to approach a certain matter. You have more knowledge. You have more overview over the topic. You know better of how and where to connect the dots. This is what you learn, and that makes your understanding of music and drumming more complete. And as this all becomes more complete, you enjoy it more, which makes it more fun and more exciting and more fulfilling, and that becomes a cycle, pretty much.
Amazing. Yeah. Um, I want my last question, so I don't want to take most of your time. Um, I wanted to ask you because I know that once you get to that point, uh, that you are an artist or freelancer, you need to work in different, do different works for different people, or in your case as well, teach loads of different students in different times. How do you manage to have your personal space for you, for your family, you know, like your Klaus time, and the artist Klaus. You know what I mean? Like how the drummer and the educator, and then your personal space. Do you feel like sometimes you need to take a little bit from one or the other, or you feel like you can most of the times make it even? Let's say.
That's a very, I mean, it's not a difficult question. It's an important question, but I'm not really good at it. So I mean, especially with that pandemic situation now, there's a serious disbalance of what I would possibly do as that private person
Hmm.
and the artist. And the problem, actually, every artist and every musician goes through is you you don't put down your instrument and you're a different person.
Yeah.
That instrument is always with you. It's always on your mind. It's like that alien inside you that that keeps picking
I
up
completely
parts.
understand what you're saying.
It really it really is very difficult, but also very important to at least try to bring in some balance to what you are doing. And of course, it's extremely important to have that family framework of people who understand your obsession, and especially given the fact that I mean, what we actually do is we make a profession out of our hobby, and
True.
a lot of people would say, boy, how great is that? And at times I would say, well, it's not as great as you think because you don't have a hobby anymore. I used to have a hobby like 40 years ago. I don't have it anymore.
And you
So
can't find it because, like, there's so much to manage. You know,
yeah, but
your constant like research for stuff makes you so excited about your hobby that you don't have time to look for another one. You know what I mean? Like your job now.
it pretty much is exactly that, and still you want to keep your game fresh, and you don't always want to bring the same stuff to the table, although quite some of your students want to hear exactly that. I mean, I get a lot of requests regarding, oh, how is that really with molar technique? You've been like the master student of Chapin, and I want to seek out your expertise. What do you think? Can you show me what it is? And of course I do, but to a certain degree, I mean, just uh, just for yourself, you need to make some additions, and you need to make some, not changes, but you need to make some updates and add a certain degree of understanding the matter that that keeps you fresh as you teach it. You don't want to be in that backwards perspective. Oh, this is the way how I used to teach the matter 10 years ago. Um,
Like work on your delivery.
yeah,
Yeah.
something needs to be updated and slightly changed and streamlined, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Amazing, Klaus. Thank you so much for this. Thank you for taking this time to talk with me. Please, if you want to support this channel, subscribe the channel and give it a like. Also, go to Klaus' website and to his social media and check out all the exercises and the cool stuff that he shares. Thank you very much.
Please do. Yep.